Om Sri Sai Ram. Invoking Bhagawan's presence and blessings, I offer my most loving pranams at the lotus feet of our dearest Bhagawan, Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Dearest viewers, brothers and sisters of the Sai family, welcome all to the 135th episode of Samarpan. Samarpan is an offering of gratitude from the alumni of Sri Sathya Sai Educational Institutions. Since last couple of years, we have been broadcasting the Samarpan session every month on the YouTube channel of Sri Sathya Sai Organization Karnataka. Each month, we have a senior devotee to share their most cherished experiences with Bhagawan and the lessons learnt at thy lotus feet. I am sure this is a delight to all of us at home as we spend some time along with our whole family reminiscing the experiences and stories of Bhagawan. Spending a Sunday in this way is probably the best way to spend any holiday because we spend the whole time with the family and we are spending the time thinking of the avatar of the age. And therefore, let me welcome you all again to the Samarpan session of this month. In India, we have celebrated our Independence Day this month. And I must say, Swami used to give a lot of importance to feelings of patriotism and serving the nation. And today's speaker has spent his whole life serving the nation. Today we are fortunate to have Colonel Arun Malhotra with us, who would be sharing his experiences with our dearest Bhagawan. Colonel Arun Malhotra is a military veteran. He has served for over 30 years in active combat roles as a paratrooper and also as a Black Cat commando. In addition to his combat role in the armed forces, he also has a strong academic and leadership background. He has completed his Master of Sciences and Masters in Business Administration. He is a public speaker and he has been invited as a guest speaker at numerous corporate and academic institutions, including IBM, IIM, Dr. Ambedkar's group of institutions, Institute of CAs, Sri Sathya Sai Educational Institutions, on the subjects such as leadership, grooming and etiquette, communication skills, armed forces as a career, art of teaching, and personality development. He has been associated with our dearest Bhagawan for over 45 years now. He is the second of 4 generations of Malhotra family with over 40 years of devotion towards our beloved Bhagawan. He has also addressed August gatherings during the 3 sessions in front of Bhagawan himself. He has also been invited to conduct a 1-year de-addiction program in the rural villages of Karnataka. He has been invited to organize sports day events at Sri Sathya Sai Institutions. And recently, he has authored a book, Divinity at Play. The book is available on Amazon and Sri Sathya Sai bookstores at Prashantinilayam and various Sai Samitis. He has had several interactions with Bhagawan. And during one such interactions, a beloved Bhagawan said, "I know everything. Yes, I am your friend, philosopher and guide. I am what you think I am." This statement had an extraordinary meaning in itself for Colonel Malhotra. And to know more about the conversations and the experiences, let's now listen to Colonel Malhotra. Sairam.
Sairam, everybody. My humble pranams at the lotus feet of our divine Bhagawan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. I'm privileged to have been given this opportunity to speak to a very august gathering of viewers of Samarpan, and along with Samarpan, I'm sure there would be a lot many viewers who are not members but would certainly be viewing me and my thoughts on YouTube. I'm aware that these YouTube presentations have a lot of viewership. In fact, I remember the first two video presentations that I gave in the studios at Prashanti in their media center, both the volume 1 and volume 2 of my talks. The first one had 31,000 viewers and the second one had 21,000 viewers. It is obvious that even this video, when you put it on YouTube, will have viewers in thousands. I'm encouraged to speak to so many people, devotees, well-wishers, as well as soothsayers. All these recordings are for posterity, and therefore I would like to be as authentic in my talks as possible. To that extent, I would also like to take your permission to refer to my book, Divinity at Play, which I wrote, and it was researched. And there are some dialogues between me and Swami and my parents and Swami, which I would like to quote directly by reading from the book. I would thus like to take the permission of the organizers to also be referring to my book frequently when I'm speaking to you. The first question which I was asked by the organizers was that you start by telling us something about yourself and how did you come into Swami's fold. Well, let me in that case start from 1972. 1972, that's about 50 years back, that is the time when the Malhotra family came into Swami's fold. My parents that time were in Delhi. I was at that time in uniform and I was performing my duties in field areas, semi-field areas and otherwise. That is the time when Swami, Bhagawan Sri Sathya Sai Baba, visited Delhi, and my parents got the first glimpse of him at Firoz Shah Kotla grounds in Delhi. It's not that this is the first time they knew about him. They were already familiar with the activities of the Baba Samitis and Baba's organizations, and they were already actively involved in it. They had read about him, they knew about him, they had performed for him, and now they were motivating me also to get on board. That was in 72. I was still loose hunting in uniform. Time passed. Fast forward to 1977. These 5 years between 72 and 77 were the gestation periods between Swami and me. Swami was gestating me, grooming me to fit into his organization and into his mold. In 1977, I was posted at a place called Wellington, not far from Ooty. As you all know, in Ooty, Swami has a school there. My parents were in Delhi. We had no mobiles at that time. Only there were telegrams and letters which used to come. I had a rickety car and I had a family of 4. Me, my wife Pramila, my son Ashish, who was then around 3 or 4 years old, and my daughter Pooja, who was just about 1 year and in the mother's arms. I received a letter, a telegram from my father saying that Baba is likely to visit Ooty to his school. You can look for an opportunity to visit him and have his darshans. I let it be at the moment. 2 days thereafter was a weekend, and me and my wife and my family, we decided to go for a picnic to Ooty. Wellington to Ooty is just about 30 minutes, 20 to 25 minutes drive. While I was driving, it suddenly struck me that my father had sent a telegram, so why not I have a look and see if Baba's here. I entered Ooty, and there I asked somebody, इधर बाबा आते हैं, साई बाबा आता है? He said, हाँ, ये रहा उनका गेट, ऊपर जाइए. I said, आ गए हैं बाबा? He said, that he did not know. So I drove uphill to the gate of the entrance to the school. I spoke to the gatekeeper and I said, Baba aa gaye? He said, abhi aaya, 5 minutes back. Darshan karna hai? I said, yes. Usne bola, go inside. He opened the gate and I drove my rickety old car with my family and parked it stupidly just 20-30 meters away from the darshan line. 20 to 30 meters is not much. There were no cars there at all. There was no Sevadal there. I wondered. I parked my car. I got down. I saw so many people, all quiet. My wife also got down. We did not know what to do. This was the first time we were having darshans of Baba. In fact, my parents called him a god, but I was wondering. I leant against the bonnet of my car, and my wife stood next to me, and she also stood there with puja in her arms and the son in front of me. Music started. 30 seconds thereafter, we saw Baba coming out. So nice a view that we had. Orange robe, a halo around him, big hair, and he glided through the darshan lines. I carried on leaning against the bonnet of my car, my wife also standing next to me, quite oblivious of the fact that gents and ladies are not supposed to have darshans together. They are separate lines for them. But then we were novices. This was our first darshan and our first exposure to Baba. He came. He passed through the complete the line. The gents were on either side. He was passing through them, talking to somebody, giving vibhuti to somebody, collecting a letter from somebody. He came all that 100 meters or 70 meters down from his residence to the edge, to the end of the line. And from the line, my car and myself were just 30 meters away. I should have been sitting somewhere. I was a novice, a silly novice. When he looked at us after finishing the line, instead of going back, he looked at us. My wife suddenly sat down and put her hands together. The wretchedness in me made me continue to lean against the bonnet of my car, not knowing what to do. He came closer, 20 meters away. He looked at me, he looked at my wife, he smiled. My hands came up like this. Obeisance. He came 10 meters away from me. I was wondering, what do I do? Should I say hi or should I shake hands with him? I kept quiet. I kept doing this. He came 5 meters and suddenly an electric 240 volts current ran down my back. A shiver ran down my back and I swung down onto my knees immediately with my son next to me. My hands together. My eyes wet because I was seeing something which I had not seen earlier. Baba came closer, just about 5 meters away, 3 meters away, next to me. He smiled and he said, "How are you?" This sentence of his, just 3 words, how are you was a welcome on board signal for me, because that is where my innings for the next 45 years and carrying on, I don't know how many years to go, it carried on and it is still on. Thank you, Baba, for welcoming me on board. That was my first impressions about Baba. A sparkling gaze, a beautiful vision, a lovely gait, a beautiful walk, orange, a halo around him, coming to me the first time, 5 meters, 3 meters, and saying, how are you? What a bliss I was in, and that was the starting point. At that time, between 72 and 77, my father had retired, settled in Delhi with my mother, and I was here in Ooty. My father, maybe in his 70s then, or 60s then, I was a major in the army, and Swami was in his 40s. That is the time when my innings with him started. He took me on board, and since then he's given me a number of tasks. Whenever we meet, he does come and say hello to me, and I always am there for him for all the responsibilities that he assigns me. A few of these responsibilities and a few of these experiences is what I'm going to speak to you today. Since then, 1977 to now, much water has passed. Fast forward to the 90s at this moment. He gave me a number of tasks that I've told you. One of the major tasks that I had received was to do some social service and carry out a de-addiction program in Anikal district of Karnataka. I was there, organized by Shri Vinay and his complete team from Sai Darshan. I spent a year plus, on weekends at different times, going to individuals' houses there in the villages, speaking to them against chara, against ganja, against liquor, against chuna, gave them a lot of demonstrations. It was a successful initiative. After all, Baba's blessings were with us. A CD was made. It was presented to Baba at Puttaparthi. And Baba had given instructions that copies of these CDs be sent to all the state presidents in the country. Now, whether it went or it did not go, I don't have any confirmations on it, but for the fact that a number of people from outside Bangalore have also said that they have seen a CD of my presentations on this. Not only this, this service was acknowledged, and I was blessed by Swami to have received two coveted awards. One was a Lifetime Golden Achievement Award presented by Mother Teresa University for Peace and Education. And thereafter I got another one as an Excellence Award in 2019, just 3 years back, 2019, for services rendered to the country. It was all Baba's blessings, and it was Swami's acknowledgement that I should carry on working till the last day of my breath. I'll now again come back to the starting point of my experiences and miracles. I've also made a mention that when I'm speaking about the miracles and experiences, I would like to interspread them with some conversations that I had with Swami. Now, I was once sitting in the upper veranda. I was once sitting in the upper veranda at the portico, and I was in a colorful dress because I reached Puttaparthi late. I was in a blue shirt and I was in a colorful trouser, and everybody else was in whites up there, and I had cufflinks on. I have a specimen of this cufflink here. This cufflink came here with me. Swami came to me He said, "Hello, military, welcome." I did like this. He gave an ishara to get up. I stood up. He saw when I was doing this, he saw the cufflinks here. He saw the cufflinks. He admired them for just 1 second and he said, "Fish cufflinks, fish eye." I did not understand what is this fish eye that he was referring to. He looked at it, he tapped it, and he said, "Fish eye." And thereafter he tapped me and etc. and walked away for darshans. I wondered what was this fish eye. It was later on that Mr. Venkatram, who was the chancellor earlier once upon a time, I asked him, he also used to sit there. We used to be sitting together in the general area next to the secretary. And I asked him, he said this, fish eye, what is this? He said, that shows Swami's focus. He said he was wanting to remind you that this fish eye, this cufflinks eye, is something that goes back to Mahabharata. Dronacharya, when Dronacharya to the Pandavas was teaching them archery, he wanted them to look into the water and a fish was on top of a tree and he wanted to shoot the fish. He asked everybody, all the Pandavas, what do you see? Somebody said sky, somebody said leaves, somebody said tree, somebody said fish. He asked Arjun. Arjun said, I can only see the eye of the fish. He said, shoot your arrow. And the arrow went and hit the fish, the eye of the fish. Imagine, from such a small thing like a cuffling here, Swami brought me to the fact that one must remain focused on what you do, like Arjun. But on a lighter side, I should also make a mention here, a little extempore though, is that once I was speaking at the Trei sessions, standing next to Swami, and there was some dialogue in which I said, and then Lord Arjun said this. Swami corrected me and he said he was not Lord Arjun. Call him Arjun. That's the time I realized that we at times tend that anything in the mythology, we call it Lord. He said Arjun was not Lord. He was a savior for Krishna. He was a disciple of Krishna. Anyway, this was just off the cuff, which I thought I will just make a mention since I was showing the fish eye to you. The other issue a number of people have asked, or initially they used to ask, was should we really be talking about our personal experiences in public? Very many people I asked, they were devotees, and they said, no, this is entirely a personal equation between you and Swami. I said, but why not? If there's something good, I must share it. They were of the opinion, they said that I don't know, but I personally feel that these experiences that you have are personal and not to be shared by others. I somehow did not agree to it, and when I wrote my book, I made a mention of this issue, and I'll just read it out from it, just a paragraph. Yes, I was once speaking to Swami, and I was speaking to him about I having been asked to speak to the public, the senior managers of Bharat Electronics Limited, Bangalore. He said, kiske baare mein? I said, I have got to speak to them on the leadership in the corporate world. And I explained to Swami that I intended to quote him. I intended to quote Swami on it. Can I? I asked him, can I? Because my interaction with others was hovering in my mind, can I speak about Swami to the public? This is what Swami said. He listened with a twinkle in his eyes. And he would invariably say, Acha hai. Speak with confidence. Jo bolega, sach samajh ke bolna. Sab acha hai. Paad namaskar lo. What he meant in English was, good, very good. Speak with confidence. Whatever you speak, think and speak well. Every talk will go off well. And when I asked him, I can speak about you also in leadership. Because to me, he is an ideal leader. I look forward to opportunities to speak in public forums whenever I would quote him as a leader. My interaction with Swami indicated that he says there is no harm. And I'm telling you through the forum of this talk that there is no harm for devotees to speak to the public about Baba, provided you know whom to speak to and when to speak. Those are two important issues also which he had made a mention of. Other than this is the fact. Swami told me at a later time was कि आप पुट्टापर्थी आता है, आप बुक शॉप में जाता है. I said yes Swami. बुक शॉप में कितना बुक्स देखता है? I Swami, there are hundreds of books in various languages published all over the world. He says किसके बारे में है? I said Swami, स्वामी के बारे में, आपके बारे में. He says तो फिर सब बोलता है तो तुम भी बोलो. Very logical. And then what does he do at Puttaparthi when he asks speakers to speak? They speak about the miracles, about the experiences, and about Swami. I go a step further. Whenever Swami came here during his summer vacations, very many times he asked me to speak. He asked me to go into the Terei sessions, stand next to him, next to his jula, next to him, take his pad namaskar and speak. I would invariably ask him, किसके बारे में? And he would say, बोलो. I will come to that as a miracle at a later point of time. But he said, बोलो. Giving an indication that all the 7 and 8 times that I spoke about some issue or the other, it pertained to Baba. And therefore, it goes beyond doubt for the public and for the devotees to be convinced and assured that they are expected to speak about Swami in bringing out their points in their conversations. There is no need for people to feel shy or reluctant. You call him God, somebody calls him a guru. To me, I called him a friend, philosopher, and a guide. There's a YouTube on me, it's titled Swami, a friend, philosopher, and guide. Now I'll come on to some of the experiences which I have experienced. I put it on a piece of paper so that I get my sequence correct and I make sure that I don't exceed the limits set to me by the organizers. Now I'll go back to the 70s. Yes, it was sometime in the 70s. I was in uniform. My parents were very fond of coming to Puttaparthi every now and then. My mother sent a letter to me to come on leave and let us spend some time with Swami in Puttaparthi. I took leave. I came to Delhi. That's where my parents were. I came to Delhi. They had already booked seats for my father, my mother, self, my wife, Ashish and Pooja, my two children. For some reason, my father had to follow. He had to withdraw. I had reached Delhi. So I said that, okay, in that case, I will go to the railway station. There were no booking offices during those days, I suppose. I was to go to the railway station and cancel that ticket. I borrowed a motorcycle from my brother-in-law and I drove from Rajouri Garden, where I was staying, to the New Delhi railway station to change my tickets. En route, somewhere en route, I met with an accident. I fell down by the side of the road. The hot exhaust of a motorcycle came onto my legs. It burnt my trouser. It burnt my skin. I was semi-conscious. I was bruised. I was bleeding at different places. Those days, helmets were also not there. But fortunately, nothing happened to my head. At that stage, somebody lifted me up. 5-6 people got together, lifted me and put me by the side of the road. I saw blood all over. I saw the state in which I was. And I told one person, can you please take me to a doctor? Can you please take me to a doctor quickly? Guess what? When I looked back, I had fallen in front of a clinic. There was a doctor's clinic where I was seated. Right in front of the door of that clinic is where they put me, and my motorcycle was 5 yards away. Nature had to play its role. Baba let it. But then Baba knew that he was required to come and play his divine part He made sure that the accident happened right next to a clinic. I was lifted, taken to the clinic, given a dressing, antibiotic injections, and whatever was required, bandaged, painkillers, and everything. My motorcycle was okay. After about half an hour or so, I was determined, like an army officer. I said, that's all right. I have to finish my mission, and that is to go to the railway station. With that injuries on, limping, I drove a motorcycle the next 7 to 10 kilometers to the railway station, cancelled my father's booking, and came home. My parents saw me and they said, you are daft. You are being silly. How can you go to Puttaparthi with these damages on you? I said, no. If Baba has called, we have to go. 2 days or 3 days thereafter, we left. My father dropped out, my mother, self, and my children, my wife and children. When we were going in a train from New Delhi to Bangalore, we passed through Madhya Pradesh, and there some street urchins who are very fond of picking up stones from the railway track and throwing it into the bogies, they were throwing stones. It was late evening, dark. It was hot, so the windows were up, and my mother was sitting next to the window, and I was sitting on the other side, etc. A stone came and hit one window, and the window broke. The second stone came and hit the knees of my mother, and my mother yelled out in pain, and there was blood all over her. I was already a casualty. And now, before we reached Bangalore, my mother became a casualty, bleeding all around, and we were wondering what do we do. Other than Vibhuti, we had nothing else with us except for a paracetamol. My mother wondered what to do. कोई फर्स्ट एड होएगा, कोई डॉक्टर या कुछ. With all that commotion, about 5 or 10 people came around in that area, and one of them was a doctor. A doctor was carrying a first aid kit with him, and he was in the adjacent compartment, and he quickly brought his first aid kit and rendered first aid to my mother. Nature played its part. Injury had to happen, but then divinity also played its part, and he intervened to make sure that things are under control. Yet, we decided, to Baba we must. We traveled, we reached Bangalore, and once we reached Bangalore, we got into the train to go to Whitefield, only to be told there, Baba to hai nahi, Baba is not here, Baba has gone to Puttaparthi. His summer vacation had finished. So we said that at least let us, now that we are here, let us have darshans at the Tray itself, at Brindavan itself, limping, with luggage with us. We limped to the entrance. 2 students saw us coming in that manner. I was limping, open wounds, lactating wounds, with pus. My mother, she was limping with some more wounds on her. My wife, she had Pooja, a 1-year-old girl, in her arms. My son, 4 years, he was dragging a suitcase. I was lugging another baggage, and we reached there. When the students saw us, they felt pity. Well, I should not say they felt pity, but they found it their duty to help us. One person came, quickly took the luggage, the other came and helped me. A lady Sevadal came and helped my mother, and we were taken inside, and we told them we had come for darshan, and they said Baba is not here. They took us to the room adjacent to the warden's room, which is supposed to be their visitor's room, a guest room or a visitor's room. Nasima Murthy's room, followed by another room. We were made to sit there. We explained the whole predicament to them. They pitied us. They said, sir, we will take charge. Suddenly, a first aid box came. Another individual came who knew something about first aid. Another person went and ran and brought coffee and biscuits for us. The 4th person wanted to remove our bandages. When they removed the bandages, we said that, look, let us open the bandages ourselves. They're stinking. There's pus. There are 48 hours of bandage. There's pus. There's wound. Let us handle it. You clean it thereafter. They said, no. We are Baba's students, and it is our honor to serve devotees. Nobody would ever do that now. With those wounds that my mother had, a Sevadar lady came to address the wounds of my mother and to me by those people. Then we said, what do we do? How do we go? Can you put us through to a train which will take us to Bangalore, and from Bangalore we go onwards. Suddenly they found somebody running over and saying, sir, you want to go to Puttaparthi? I said, yes. They said, sir, there's a vehicle, there's a bus coming. There's a bus going to Puttaparthi, there's a bus which has just come. It's going to Puttaparthi, just 5 minutes. If you want, we can put you into that bus. I said, okay, this is divine. Divinity is at play. Swami arranged for a bus for us from Brindavan to Puttaparthi, starting right from the gate. The Sevadar lady, she helped my mother to go there. Two boys, they picked up our luggage. One boy helped me and we were put into the bus. Look at this divine providence. A bus came right there and they said this bus is going to Puttaparthi, and there were 2 people sitting in it. Empty bus, all for us. In 4 hours, 5 hours, 4 hours, we were there. But it was around 10 o'clock at night. There was nowhere to go. We parked ourselves, not knowing what to do. We went and parked ourselves in the verandas of West 1. Yes, West 1, first floor. We just put our bed sheets there and we are saying, Sai Ram, please help us. We are in a terrible shape. We don't know what to do. Should we go back? Should we go to the hospital? Or should we have darshans? There was a bit of a movement. A gentleman, an old devotee, came, admonished us to be silent. He said 10 o'clock is sleeping time. We were silent. Next day morning at 4:30, as is the practice in all ashrams, activity started. We had still not gone to sleep. We did not know what to do. There was no water. There was no milk for my children. There was nothing available with us. What do we do? Every room has a toilet. Toilet everywhere, but not a toilet for us to go. That was the state. Our first day at Puttaparthi, at Puttaparthi. We were guided by somebody to go and report to the accommodation tent. There was a tent where accommodation halls were allotted. We were given a hall. But when they saw my state, they said, first you go to the first aid counter, first aid Shamyana. They look after us and then you can proceed further. We went, first aid was rendered, we went to the shed, everybody was shaken up, people were sympathizing with us, but we had no energy to go for Bhagawan's darshan. We said, how can we? In the evening, we felt a little reconciled to our injuries, to the discomforts and to our agonies, and we said, we have to go to Bhagawan. We have to see him. We went there for darshans. Normal. Bhagawan came, Baba came, he looked at my mother, he smiled at her and went away. Day finished. Then afternoon, we got a message that there's a telegram for you. They said there's a telegram for you. And what did the telegram read? It read, it was from my mother, from my father, from Delhi. It read, your loving brother Vidhi Prakash Suri died this morning. Come. Now there was commotion. I think he was the only brother out of the 3 brothers who was alive at that time, other than my mother. And now there was a telegram and there was commotion and my mother was in tears and she did not know what do we do, and she said, look, it's not correct. This is not correct. How can Swami do this? He's called us. He's injured us. Look at the agony we passed through it. And now he says, you go back and my brother is lost. She said, I told her, let's go back. She said, no, I want to speak to Swami. I want to speak to him today. I said, look, Mom, That may not be possible. And here's a telegram which says your brother has died. She says, how can he die like this when I am in Puttaparthi? He cannot. I have to speak to Swami, and I want an explanation from him. And I want him to help me in some way. Should I go back? Should I go to the hospital? Should I go home to Delhi? What do I do? And for a mother, a child is a child, even if he is 40 years old. I was there to counsel her. But she said, you are all children. You, your wife, my grandchildren. How can we manage all this? And look at this. How can I have proper darshans of Baba? We went for darshans in the evening. Nothing happened. She was in tears. She said, Swami, help. What do I do? I am so helpless. My husband is not here. He is in Delhi. My brother, he has expired today. And I am the only person alive from the siblings. What do I do? Can I go back? Swami just did this and walked away. She said, now what do I do? We said that we can pack up our things, but then tomorrow morning, let us have Baba's darshans and then see. Next day morning again we went. Again she got, earlier she was getting the second row, this time she got the first row. I was in the gents corner along with my son, and my wife was with her, and Swami came. Swami came, he looked at her and he stopped there. My mother was in tears. She had got the telegram with her. She wanted to show the telegram, but somehow, you see, when Swami comes in front of you, people are so emotional that you can't show a telegram or you can't show a letter to him. She had the telegram with her and she forgot to show it to Swami, and Swami just did, smiled and walked away. Now again, a dilemma. Now what does this mean? Blessings, yes. I am bandaged, I am on injections, I am on antibiotics. My mother is 60 years, she is on antibiotics, she is on injections, she is bleeding. Her brother has died. What do we do? We went home, we had our lunch. At 2 o'clock, a Sevadal person came. He said, who's Mrs. Malhotra? I said, my mother, she is here. He said, there's a telegram for her. So we limped across to the PRO's office for the telegram. We picked up the telegram, and this is what was written on the telegram. From my father. Sai Ram, your brother Vidhi Prakash Suri is alive. Your brother Vidhi Prakash Suri is alive. Obituary in Hindustan Times was wrong. Imagine. Sai Ram, your brother Vidhi Prakash Suri is alive. Obituary in Hindustan Times was wrong. Another footballer with the same name had expired. Enjoy darshans. Now, what do you have to say to this? Divinity was at play. Divinity did not fight with nature. Perhaps nature had said that this was an accident to happen. But then, nature is controlled by divinity. Divinity played its role, and my mother's brother came back to life. Hindustan Times regretted at a later time. Those details are available in my book. A death was reversed. But then I would also like to take this opportunity to read out my impressions or my thoughts at that particular time. If God is on our side, nothing is impossible. A dead man has been brought back to life. If God is on our side, nothing is impossible. A miracle has just been experienced, not just by us, but by scores of other devotees too, who by now had come to know of our situation. Hundreds of people there had come to know that there's a problem. There's a person who's lamenting, who's looking for Swami's help. This miracle spread all over Parthi, especially women devotees who had by then in their own hearts started praying for Swami to help my mother. Everybody was praying for her, please help her. And so it was. Divinity played. Isn't that a miracle? Now, in the above series of incidents, in our moments of grief, the lesson learned I'm reading, in our above series of incidents, in our moments of grief, it was just implicit faith and trust in Him that kept us going towards Him. Of course, He willed it so. And so we reached Him at Parthi, in spite of all the injuries. We faced so much of pain and discomfort. Another person would perhaps have called it off at the very first accident. My mother's love and faith in Him was my driving force. Baba says, bend your head before God, welcoming whatever be His will. And then you too can have the Lord as your guide and guard. We must initiate first. We initiated our prayers, and Swami came to our life. Swami came and guarded us, protected us, brought a relative of mine, my mother's brother, back to life. Uh, These moments of grief became moments of joy. There was celebration in the ladies' side of Puttaparthi that this is a miracle that has happened. This miracle, if I'm not wrong, also figures in Sanatan Sarati at that time. And imagine, a national newspaper publishes an obituary along with a write-up of a devotee's brother. Yet, with a clean heart and love for God, my mother demanded a miracle and the death of her brother was reversed. This is what God can do, but if only we trust and have faith in Him. Trust and have faith in Him. Love is a common factor. Have love for humanity, and everything else that God wants of us will fall in place. My mother merged with Swami in 2008 with bliss all over her face. After this amazing narrative that I have just made a mention of her death being reversed, on the lighter, let me spend two minutes of yours on a lighter moment. I was in uniform and I had received an invitation from Swami through Mr. Nasimamurthy, yes, who was then the warden here, and he was there. He said that Swami has told me to give you a call and invite you for the sports day. Since I had earlier organized the sports day, that we'll talk about later. Just in the lighter moments. When I left Puttaparthi, I was in the military police here, and from here I took a binocular with me, a powerful military binocular with me, just to see how well the march past is and how students do it. I went to Puttaparthi, me and my wife. My son was studying at Puttaparthi in Baba's Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning. My daughter was here. Both of us went, and I was escorted to the stage to sit next to Swami. So Swami's throne, his chair, watching the sports day at the playground, at the stadium, and I was sitting next to him. And I had my binocular with me. Swami had already seen the binocular. He kept quiet. The parade started. When Swami came, he sat down and everything, and then Swami gave an ishara for the parade to start, and the drum started, and the march past started from the far end. When the march past started, they were walking very nice. So Swami looked at me. How is the march past? I said, Swami, very nice. Then Swami was looking left and right, just trying to see what's happening, or divinity was at play. I looked at Swami and I thought that he's finding it difficult to see. I took out my binocular and told Swami, Swami, do you want a binocular to see? Imagine telling God, do you want a binocular to see your students march past? He saw it, smiled and kept the binocular back onto my lap, and he said, Humko zarurat nahi hai binocular ka. And that's the time I realized how silly of me to offer a binocular to God to see. How could that be possible? But then this is the lighter moments. This is just one of the lighter moments. I thought I'll just interject this before I come on to the next experience. Now, here's another experience which is recorded in my book, and it has drawn in a lot of comments, a lot of appreciations. And when I was at Sai Darshan 4 days back and I told them that there's going to be a recording of miracles and experiences, that person, Baba's devotee, he said, Sir, must La Paloma chapter 17, you must speak about. I asked Dr. Mohan, the trust, member of the trust, I said, which was your favorite chapter? And he said, chapter 17, La Paloma, always speak on it. I'm going to speak to you about La Paloma. You will be wondering, what is La Paloma? Now, I was that time in the military police in Bangalore when I received a call. We used to go to Trey Brindavan. We used to go to Trey at Whitefield whenever Swami came here for his summer vacations. I received a call from one of the senior Sevadal members. Uh, can I organize a military band for Swami? I said, I am not sure. You see, military people, there are also rules and regulations. Should I? They said, sir, please try. Just, I'm sure Baba will bless you and you go ahead. Try karo. If it's not possible, then you let me know. We'll ask somebody else or we'll have some civil band come in. But the intention is to have a military band. I said, okay. I spoke to somebody about the military band and he said for Sai Baba, for Godmen, for spiritual functions, you are not going to get permission from the senior authorities. I said, "Bhi baat theek hai." I rang up the devotee there who told me. He said, but why are you saying for Baba? It is for a wedding function that Baba is going to bless. I said, then it is possible. So I then put up an application that this band is required for public display to broaden the image and public relations of the military bands. Permission granted. Within 2 hours, permission was granted. I called for the band master and I told him, this is it. He said, yeah, he had heard about it. All people have already heard about Baba. So he said, yes, sir, give me 2 days. One day, I will polish up all my brass and everything. This band of military police has been playing several times at the Republic Day parades in Delhi also. So they are all seasoned band players. The next day, I got a confirmation, yes, on such and such date, at such and such time, after Swami's darshans at the Sai Ramesh Hall. At the Sai Ramesh Hall, the band will play and Swami is going to bless the newly married couple. I'm not sure who the married couple was, but this I think was the daughter of the gentleman who used to drive Swami's car as his driver. He was an elderly gentleman. Pardon me, my memory fades away at 80 years. I'm forgetting it. Anyway, that was immaterial. I told the band master that please work out a list of about 16 to 18 numbers, scores, the scores, starting from Swagatam, which is the play of welcome, and all the other national and international scores that you know. He said, yes, sir. The complete scores were made, shown to me. I had a look at them. All of them, I was familiar with it since the band came under me at those days in the military police. I had a very favorite Spanish score number called La Paloma. La Paloma, very many of you would have heard and very many of you may not have heard. But this La Paloma was an excellent number, very popular and the world's most played number. It was my favorite. I told the band master कि साहब आप ला पलोमा नहीं ऐड किया, आपको आता है? He said, हाँ साहब, 1-2 बारी हमने ऑफिसर्स मेस में प्ले किया था एंड आप हमको 1 दिन दे दो, हम प्रैक्टिस करेगा एंड वी विल प्ले. I said, okay. So I took the list. At serial 15, I inserted La Paloma and then 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 and we carried on. I made 2 copies of it. I got them laminated. One for Swami and one for the band. Band must know the sequence and at least because they have the score sheets with them. One was for me. Or actually that was to be shown to Swami. Preliminaries done. Next day or the day when we were supposed to go, our truck was arranged. All the 40 people from the band were sent smartly dressed in their A1 dress, number 1 dress. I got into my uniform, number 1 dress. We went for the darshans. I sat at my enclosure. The second row, first row would invariably be with the students. Second row was with guests. I got my corner place. Swami came. He had a look at me. He stayed about 4 feet away from me. Generally, he comes almost about 1 foot away from me and 2 feet away, and I take Path Namaskar. He was about 3 feet away, and I looked at him. I smiled. He smiled at me. I said, Path Namaskar. He said, Abhi nahi, wait. I kept quiet and Swami went and he went away. And when he went around, I quickly got up and I went around to my band who had already got themselves hidden to avoid any distraction from bhajans, from the people. The ladies' wing would have got distracted. So quickly the band came in motion and they came to their place. I was there. Swami came, finished his rounds, came to me, he looked at the band, अच्छा है, good. I said, Swami, हम play करेगा आपके लिए, and the band immediately started playing Swagatam. When you play Swagatam, I saluted Swami, the band master also saluted, and Swagatam, the first 45 seconds or 1 minute of Swagatam, Swami looked at it, and then when they finished, he went inside to bless the couple, the newly married couple who were inside waiting. The Sevadal head came to me and they said, Sahab, aap aarti karna chahoge? Do you want to perform aarti of Baba? There's a good golden opportunity. I said, yes, but humko malum nahi hai. I mean, in the sense that I don't know how to perform aarti. I've never done it before. He said, don't worry. There was a sudden op alert and people ran around, somebody getting a silver thali, another person got aarti materials, somebody ran, brought a red rose for me, and then the Sevadal head who had asked for the band came and briefed me on how aarti is done. Then Swami came. By then the ladies had already occupied facing this side, facing the band. There must have been about 500 ladies. Gents were sitting and watching the show from the other side. That's about on the gents side in the Sai Ramesh hall. We got ready. Swami came. He stood next to me. He looked at the ladies' side. He looked at somebody, smiled, and then he looked back at me and he said, Kya karna hai? I said, Swami, the band will play for you. And I said, here is a list of 20 numbers. And if there's any number that you want, band is ready to play all the numbers. I had my eye on La Paloma, but then I kept quiet. It's 15th in the list. And the band people were also ready with the complete numbers and their eyes, they were about 5 meters away from Swami. I was standing next to Swami. I showed him the list. I showed him that here is the list. Swami, which one? It took him 2 seconds and he said, serial 15, La Paloma play karo. Bahut sundar number hai. Imagine Swami asking me to play a Spanish number, La Paloma, which was the world's most talked of number. And the band quickly started, they turned their pages of the scores. And he said this, and La Paloma started. La Paloma was a beautiful number, and Swami closed his eyes and he kept on doing like this, and he carried on for about 1.5 minutes while La Paloma was playing a reduced duration number, because for Swami time is at a premium. Now, I would now like to have read to you some extracts from this book of mine. Now, just a word about La Paloma. La Paloma is one of the most popular Spanish orchestra scores, which was composed about 150 years back by one person whose name was Heredia from Spain. Its popularity spread the world over, including in the British and Indian armed forces. In Goa, La Paloma is played as a quasi-folk song. It is one of the most recorded songs in the history of music. That is the preamble to La Paloma. Thereafter, I will not involve myself in reading long texts, but I really wish I had the time for you to listen to the narration in the book. La Paloma was played and Swami again looked. I remember I told you 2 minutes back, he looked somewhere in the lady's side. He again looked somewhere. He did this and again he closed his eyes and he started listening to La Paloma. Thereafter, I found a lady wanted to get up. As soon as La Paloma finished, she wanted to get up. She was crying. The moment she got up, she wanted to come near Baba. She was stopped by the lady Sevadal and told to go back. She was a foreigner. She was told to go back and sit down where she was. She was sitting right in front. Thereafter, Swami said, बहुत अच्छा, बहुत मजा आया, very nice. And then Swami turned and he wanted to go back. Now, suddenly struck me, Aarti तो हुआ ही नहीं. I took 2-3 paces in front behind Baba and wanted to remind him that there's Aarti, please come back. I went towards Swami and said, Swami, Swami, Swami. Swami stopped and looked back. I said, Swami, Aarti. Oh, he said, Acha. He said, Acha, Acha, Acha. And he came back for Aarti and we performed Aarti. After the Aarti was performed, he wanted to retire, and that is a time when there were a couple of people, couple of the staff, Nasimha Murthy and a few others were standing there, and he said, "Kitna acha aarti, military band aarti play karta hai, suna? Very good." I said, "Yes, sir, very good." Now, thereafter, when Swami was still walking back, this lady again got up and came running towards me with tears in her eyes. What she said, let me read it out from the book. She explained with tears of joy that La Paloma was written and composed by her grandfather in Spain. About 150 years back, she happened to be the granddaughter of the composer of La Paloma, and Swami made sure that she was sitting there when the military band was playing La Paloma for the listening pleasure of our God. Miracle. This was played 150 years back in 1850. And that the legacy of such stage performances was thereafter taken over by her father. Grandfather to father, this score carried on. Now her brother in Spain plays La Paloma. She felt honored and said that this day would have been the greatest day in her grandfather's life to play his composition for God on earth. That was La Paloma. This magnificent experience finishes with scores of devotees approaching us to compliment the fine presentation. Lots of people came, one after the other. Hundreds of people came and they said, very good, very nice. You done a very good thing. Swami has enjoyed it and it was a pleasure seeing Swami sway to the tunes of music. And he had a smile on his face. It was a miraculous view that they got. A miracle experience at every stage. Asking for military band, getting it approved, asking me if I had any problems in getting it approved. That's what Swami asked me. Did you have any problems in getting it approved? And I said no. He wanted to listen to La Paloma, a Spanish musical score, my favorite, and he pointed it out in the list without even reading the list. Swami knows it all. He then arranged such that the writer and the composer of La Paloma was represented by his granddaughter at this special concert before the God on earth. Her presence at Sai Kulwant Hall on that day was not a coincidence. He willed it so. It was divinity at play. La Paloma was my favorite. This is a narrative which has been enjoyed by a large number of population in my book and in the other YouTubes. So I thought I would give this also as a presentation. Right, I have finished with this narrative of La Paloma. And as I told you, after each narrative, I'll come out with something of interest as a part of my conversations with Baba. I remember in the interview room, there's so many interviews. Once in the interview room, me and my family were seated. When we were having a general conversation, it was just my family and Swami. I think it was in the inner sanctum, in the sanctum sanctorum. Now that is the place where we were talking about people in general. When my mother asked Swami, Swami, हम सब आपको आप बोलता है, प्रेयर्स के अंदर तू क्यों बोलता? I was still wondering what is she saying. I couldn't connect, but Swami straightway connected. What she was referring to was that in our prayer, Om Tat Sat Shri Narayan Tu. And as we proceed further in this prayer, we always say Tu to Swami. She did not like it and she asked Swami on the spot, in front of him, in front of God himself, why are we calling you Tu? Swami looked at me, looked at my wife, looked at Mataji, and he said, "Yes, ये ठीक नहीं है. क्या आप?" He looked at me and he said, "क्या आप माताजी को तू बोलता है?" I said, "नहीं, मैं तो आप बोलता है." He said, "आपका बेटा बेटी आपको तू बोलता है?" I said, "नहीं स्वामी, आप बोलता है." Then he looked at Mataji and he said कि इस चीज़ के ऊपर हमको तो नहीं बताना चाहिए लोगों को, सबको अपना अपना समझ होना चाहिए. And we left it at that. I had a talk with somebody who matters at Puttaparthi, and he said that no, please don't. This is too major a subject. This is too major a decision for anybody to take. We will have a look at it later. In other words, he told me, turn the page. I'm taking this opportunity to speak to all of you, thousands of you, because I'm sure this video would also be seen by 15, 20, 25, 30,000 people. That it's always good to bring in a change if the change is for the better. We do our prayers, Om Tat Sat Shri Narayan Sai. For years together, I have never used the word tu, and I don't think it's correct on my part to call Swami tu. I don't even call my own children tu. I call Ashish and Pooja also aap. Aapne ye kiya? Have you done this? Aap ye kiya? I used to speak to my wife as aap. I used to speak to my mother as aap. I used to speak to my father as aap. How can I speak to God and say tu? Not correct. But then that's my point of view. At this moment, it's up to the generations of Baba's devotees to see for themselves and to decide what is correct and what is not. If I am incorrect in my presumption, I take back my words. But I thought I would take this opportunity to share with you this very important conversation that we had, where Swami also said, tu is generally not said. In fact, even Swami, for that matter, when he addresses me in our conversations, he says either military or general or up. It doesn't say tu. But in a prayer, we are saying tu. Food for thought. Right. We are back to the narratives. We are back to the experiences, the miracles that I have experienced. Here's another very interesting miracle that I would like to share with you. And I'm going back again to the time when my parents were in Delhi and I was at that time in uniform. And I think I was in the eastern sector somewhere. My father at that time was the president of the Samiti, Sai Samiti. My mother, she was the head of Ladies Sevadal, or she was the president of the ladies wing of the Samiti. And my parents used to make it a point that they must always attend all the Nagar Sankirtans, the Omkarams, the whatever activities that were going on. One particular day, they were going from Rajouri Garden, where they used to stay, to Punjabi Bagh, about 6 kilometers away, for the morning Nagar Sankirtan at 6 o'clock or 6:15, whatever time. They had an old ambassador car. They were late. They were late by about 5 minutes. And my mother kept telling my father, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, we are late, hurry up, we are late. They will not start the Nagar Sankirtan till you reach them. So my father got into the car and they pressed the accelerator. They were on the ring road. They were on the ring road. 5:30 in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, you really don't see very many people other than a few cars at that time, and perhaps the newspaper vendors and others from the slum areas carrying their looters for you know what. Since they were late, my father had been admonished. He pressed the accelerator a little too hard. An old ambassador was going at about 60 kilometers or 70 kilometers. Those days a car never went beyond that. I'm back to the 70s, or was it 80s? The car never went beyond 70 to 80 kilometers an hour. My father was driving at 70. It was driving on a one-way road. On the other side, the traffic coming from the other side, we cannot see because there were bushes arranged uh, on the highway. All of a sudden, a cycle came from the other side, came in front of my car, and there was a head-on collision. There was a head-on collision. Cycle. There was a Sikh boy riding the cycle. He fell. He went up 5-6 feet. The vehicle, the car rolled over the bicycle. The bicycle went 20 feet back. The body hit the windshield, broke the windshield, broke the wipers, dented the bonnet, broke the headlights. And by the time my father was able to press the brake and my mother was yelling, Sai Ram, bachao, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, the body rolled down, went 5 feet away, 10 feet away, 15 feet away, and it was motionless. Hundreds of newspapers spread all around. He was a newspaper vendor. He was a newspaper vendor, a young Sikh boy who was carrying newspapers on the handle of his bicycle as well as on that rear seat of a bicycle. They all flew apart. There was commotion. 50 cars standing behind. They couldn't go. All the people who were in and around, the slum dwellers, the newspaper vendors, the morning walkers, they all got together, 40, 50 people around a dead body. My father and my mother had nothing to do. They were shell-shocked. Om Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, bachao, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, bachao, Sai Ram, bachao, Sai Ram, Sai Ram. And they saw through that there was a motionless body. The people were wondering, what do we do? You see, those days there were no mobiles available. So they had to go to the nearest telephone to ring up the police to come, to ambulance, to take the dead body away. What do we do? There was commotion all over. Some people wanted to come and rough up my parents. That look, you killed a person. They could see the body was lying motionless. And then they found one person in an orange robe. He came, he asked my father, kya hua? And my father was dumbstruck and he said, ek mar gaya, kisi ko maar diya. He said, dekhte hain. He went ahead. He said, ek side mein ho jao, move aside, move aside, move aside. Everybody move aside. And he looked at the person from toe to head and from head to toe. And the people said that ye mar gaya. He is dead and something, and there's an accident. And he looked back and he found that the car was dented, the headlight was broken, the bonnet was dented, the windscreen was broken, the wiper was missing, and newspapers all around. This person in the orange robe looked back and then looked down, and he did like this and he said, Bacha, utho, kuch nahi ho gaya, get up, get up. There was no response. So the people said, क्या बाबा जी वो मर गया है और आप उसको बोलते उठो, इसको हम लेके जाएगा, अभी पुलिस को बुलाएगा. He said, ठहर जाओ, देखो. And he again said, तुमको कुछ नहीं हुआ, उठो बच्चे, उठ जाओ बच्चा. He was a young Sikh boy, उठ जाओ बच्चा. And suddenly from his toes there was motion. There was motion in his toes. Everybody saw and said, देखो देखो देखो, he's alive, he's alive. And then Swami again said, I said, Swami, the man in the orange robe, he said, Utho, get up. And his hands also started moving. And he did like this. Everybody was dumbstruck. They couldn't, not a word coming out from anybody's mouth. Everybody there, including the drivers of cars standing behind. How has a dead body got resurrected? When he was brought back to life, Swami, that old man, that person in the orange robe, he told somebody, इनको उठाओ और साइड में लेके जाओगा ताकि ट्रैफिक आगे जाएगा. They lifted him up. He was still shell shocked. They lifted him, took him to one side and made him sit down. When that old man found that there were lots of people coming towards my father's car to give him a thrashing, to criminally assault him, this man in the orange group, he said, बात सुनो, सब ये उठाओ कागज, सब कागज उठाओ, इस बेचारे का न्यूज़पेपर है. Everybody felt that yes, lots of people went, picked up the newspapers and started giving it to him. And he said, इसका साइकिल किधर है? And somebody said, साइकिल तो पीछे है, and it is all dented and there are no wheels to it. He said, देखो तो सही. And Somebody went back and they found that the cycle was okay. All that wheels which had gone upside down, they became okay. Only the handle was turned. That person lifted it up. He put the handle back to its shape and he brought it, and it was not even punctured. It was not even punctured. And it was brought to him, and then that old man and that man said, इसका साइकिल के ऊपर सब न्यूज़पेपर डाल दो. एंड ही टोल्ड हिम, तुम अपना काम के लिए जाओ, तुमको कुछ हुआ तो नहीं. That man stood up, no wounds on him, no blood, no bones damaged. He was alive, he was conscious, he was absolutely fine. Everything was tickety-boo about him. What happened? Divinity came into play. This was divinity. And yet, when other people came, was still somewhere around my father's car, and my mother was shell-shocked, this person, young man in the orange robe, came towards me and he said, कार को start करो. And the car started. He said, तुम जिस शुभ काम के लिए जा रहे थे, जाओ, आहिस्ता चलाओ. In other words, for those of you who don't understand Hindi, Swami said, you go for the shubh work, for the auspicious work that you were going. Remember, he was going for Narayan Seva, and there were people waiting for him. He told him, तुम जिस शुभ काम के लिए, whatever good work you were going to do, please go, but drive slowly. My father drove hell for leather, and my mother looked back and she found that the cars were following her, but that man in the orange robe was nowhere to be seen. A resurrection took place with divinity at play. Divinity plays with people who love him. I will go back to my book and just read out the lesson that I learned from it. Lessons, question mark. Our whole life is a lesson towards spirituality and faith. Here too, it was implicit faith, intrinsic love and trust in Swami. When his devotees plead and cry with pain and anguish from the bottom of their hearts, Swami listens and comes racing to their help. Was it just their cry for help that brought Swami to them? Well, Swami does expect something more than just faith and cry for help. He expects us to do our duty, not just professional, but service towards humanity. We have to be his instruments in his divine mission. The lessons carry on, but what I wanted to mention, or what I wanted to say at this time, was that one must have implicit faith in God. And if you have implicit faith in God, nothing can harm you, unless God wills it so. Nothing can harm you till the time you have faith in God and God loves you. Here is another story, a narrative that I have made a mention of about a resurrection that took place. Now, as I mentioned that after every narrative, I will come out with some lighter moments. At this stage only, let me share another lighter moment that I have pinned down on this piece of paper. There was another sports day in which I was called. And I was called to train the marching contingents at Puttaparthi. Boys from both the colleges and girls from Anandpur. I was given a task and 3 days of strong continuous practice to train them. At that time, one day before, I was asked by the organizers, Mr. Venkatraman, that Swami wants you to come for the rehearsal. I had finished with the marching practices, and I quickly went, freshened up, and rushed across to the stadium. And as I reached there, I reported to Narasimha Murthy, who was looking after the Whitefield contingent. Swami's car came. Swami came out and he came to me and he said, "Hum rehearsal dekhega." I said, "Yes, Swami, dekhenge." Quickly, 2 chairs were placed in the center of the track. 2 chairs were placed, one for Swami and one for me, and we had about 10-15 people sitting on the ground, including Narasimha Murthy, at the divine feet of Swami. I was asked to sit there. I felt very uncomfortable sitting with Swami when everybody else was sitting on the ground. But then Swami made me comfortable and he said, "Baitho, baitho, baitho." So I went and sat down next to Swami. Now, what he was wanting to see was there was a ladder placed at an incline and a cycle students in their acrobatics. A student with a cycle was supposed to come down, rattling down the steps, duck, 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 onto the ground and go. The next cyclist would come, duck, 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 and come down. It's not a very safe practice because the stairs made, the steps made were just about 3 feet. So when the first person got ready, I looked at Swami. I said, "Swami, ये तो dangerous है. Swami, this is dangerous." So Swami said कि नहीं ये करेगा, आहिस्ता करना है. He told Swami, please, he told Narasimhamurthy, tell them to be very careful. But then when I looked at him, I was looking at apprehension that I hope he doesn't fall down. And you see, students are diehards. In front of Swami, they can do anything. You can tell them, they can even give their life. And he was coming down from about 12 feet down the steps, onto the ground. Swami again looked at me. "ये dangerous है?" I said, "Yes, Swami." He said, "लेकिन अगर Swami इधर है तो Swami इनका ख्याल तो रखेगा. When Swami is sitting here, surely he will look at them and be careful and look after their welfare." I said, "Yes, Swami." The point brought out was that when God is sitting there, how can there be any accident? Don't worry. Relax, watch, and let me know whether you like it or not. They came down, duck, 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 duck. One came, second came, third came. And when the whole thing finished, Swami said, "Theek?" I said, "Yes, Swami, theek. All is well." Swami said, "Chalo, hum baki abhi dekhta hai." And then the remaining things saw, and march past he saw, and I was with him, and we spoke about the march past and a few conversations. But the point that I wanted to bring home at this point of time was that he made me sit next to him just to bring out a point that you please be assured when you are sitting with divine God, nothing will happen untoward towards his devotees. And nothing happened. It was an interesting conversation which I thought I will share with you, which I have really not shared in any of my other video presentations. Yes, after these conversations, I now take you to another very interesting experience of mine with Swami. Now I take you back just 6 years back. I take you back to 16 years. In 96, January 96, I have the date in my diary as 29th January 96. I was in uniform. Swami was here at Whitefield during the summers, his summer vacation. I was sitting at my place. Swami came. My mother and my wife were on the ladies' side. Swami came. He looked at them, blessed them. Invariably, he would do that to my mother and my wife, who would invariably get the rear first row from where Swami would come inside of the first enclosure. Swami came towards me. I did Pad Namaskar. I did Sai Ram Swami. He looked at me. He stood there. I said, "Swami, Pad Namaskar." He said, "Abhi nahi, wait." I was wondering. He said, "Abhi nahi, wait." I kept quiet. I would never force myself. I would always take permission of Swami for Pad Namaskar. He said, "Wait." He went. Then when he was going further ahead towards the tail end, there was a gentleman from Puttaparthi who was sitting next to me. And I asked him, I do not recollect the context on which I asked him. I said, "Abhi iske baad Trei session hoga?" So he nodded and he said, "Yes. Swami jab idhar aata hai, Trei session hota hai." I said, "Who attend? Is it only for students?" He said, "Yeah, it is for students and certain guests whom Swami invites personally. And there are some more people who are in Swami's organization in Puttaparthi who are here, who follow Baba to Whitefield, and they are here." He said, "Do you want to attend?" I said, "Oh, I'm no VIP." I said, "I'm no VIP at Swami's status, so obviously I cannot attend." So we left it at that. Then the music finished and Swami went inside. and we all got up to go back. At that stage, a Sevadal person came running to me and he said, "You are General Malhotra?" I said, "Yes, I'm General Malhotra." I said, "Yes, that's what Swami calls me, General Malhotra. I'm Colonel Malhotra." He said, "Nasima Murthy wants to talk to you." So he took me to the stage where Swami sits. Murthy was standing there. He said, "General Malhotra." I said, "Yes, so Colonel Malhotra." He said, "Swami wants to invite you to attend a Trei session inside." Now, I said, "Oh, the person," he asked me, "You want to attend?" And I said, "Look, I'm no VIP, so obviously I cannot go. I cannot be invited." And here you are, that person, I don't know where he is. He's gone. And he may be Baba, I don't know. While I'm speaking to you, I think that maybe I had not known him, but I knew he's of Puttaparthi. He may be Baba personified into a different image. But anyway, that's just a speculation. I thereafter went to Narasimhamurthy. Narasimhamurthy took me from the center gate, from where Baba enters for the bhajans. He took me off the stage to the rear, Deer's Park, and from the Deer's Park to the Trei Brindavan. That's Swami's residence. And we found Swami standing there. Students had already rushed inside. Students make a beeline, they know exactly what to do. As soon as the music finished, they got up and they rushed through. And they were already seated. Swami was waiting to escort me in, to guide me in, to welcome me in. Escort is the wrong word, to welcome me in. When I went there, I was still about 10 yards away from him and trying to rush into the steps of the tree when Swami gave me an indication. I wondered, what is Swami doing? Is he speaking to Narasimhamurthy or is he speaking to somebody? And there's nobody else next to me other than Narasimhamurthy and myself. What he was saying was, "I am going to ask you to speak inside. Beware. I'm going to ask you to speak inside." I didn't realize it. This is what Narasimhamurthy told me at a later time when we sat down inside. Swami asked Narasimhamurthy, "Make him sit next to me in front of you." Now, for those of you who attended, and most of you are students who attended, when you enter the Trei Vrindavan main gate, there's a door. And as soon as you enter inside, on the left is the Jhula where Swami sits, and thereafter the students sit, and behind are the guests. Swami told, and Narasimhamurthy being the warden of Whitefield, he sits right next to the door, about 6 feet away from Swami. Swami told him, "Military को अपने आगे बिठाओ." And I went and sat down just about 5 feet away with two students in between and myself. He managed to find his way through and sit down on the on his jhula. Now, when he sat down there was a general talk. He asked me, "Military kaisa hai?" I was 6 feet away. I can't really be shouting at him. And I said, "Just Swami, that's fine. Acha darshan hua?" I said, "Some fine." Then he looked at others and some dialogues to others, making everybody feel comfortable for his session. Then he looked at me. He had a rose in his hand and he did this ishara, "Come." Now, Narasimhamurthy had already told me that he's going to ask you to speak. Beware. Now, I was sweating. Speak in front of Baba, in front of such an august and a VIP gathering. How can I speak? And I don't even know what. Extempo bhi theek hai. I don't even know what subject he's going to give me. I was sweating with anxiety. And then Swami says, "Come forward." How can you say no, Swami, some other day? I got up, I jumped over the two boys, and I stood next to Swami and I did this. And Swami said, "Theek hai?" I said, "Yes, Swami." He said, "Bolo. Kuch bolo." He pointed towards the students and he said, "Kuch bolo." I was sweating and I said, "Swami, क्या किसके बारे में बोलना है?" He said, "कोई भी सब्जेक्ट बोलो, तुम जो अच्छा लगता है तुम बोलो." Now, I have been a public speaker. I am a public speaker in the corporate world. But then speaking in front of Swami, one has to think twice. So I said, "Swami, किसके बारे में बोलो, आप बताओ." He said, "आप बताओ." I said, sir, either corporate leadership, students अभी corporate world में जाएगा, leadership या personality development. He said, हाँ, personality development के बारे में बोलो, इनको चाहिए. He said, my children, my students need personality development. Speak to them on personality development. I said, yes, Swami. And he said, Pad Namaskar. And he took out, he raised his leg a little away from the students, asked the students to shift back. They're always clinging to Swami. And then I took Pad Namaskar. And then he said, Bolo. I spoke. Generally, I have noticed that people speak for about 5 minutes or so, 5 to 6 minutes in front of Swami. I spoke for about 5 to 10 minutes. I spoke for 10 minutes. I looked at Swami. He said, Bolo, Bolo. I spoke for 20 minutes. I looked at Swami. He said, Bolo. I was getting exhausted of my content. I spoke for 25 minutes at a stretch with lots of people laughing at a number of humorous incidents that I spoke. And at times Swami also did like this. He was enjoying it. Students were enjoying it. The guests were enjoying it. I was not enjoying it because I was the scapegoat. Swami said, Bolo. For 25 minutes I spoke, and if you really ask me now, I don't know what I spoke. I really don't know what I spoke. After 25 minutes, I told Swami, Swami, bas. He said, Aur bolo. I then spoke for 26, 27 minutes, 28 minutes, 29 minutes, 30, 31, 32 minutes I spoke. I came to know later from one of the devotees, Subbarao, that I spoke for 32 minutes. And I said, don't blame me. Swami told me to carry on speaking. And I told Swami after 32 minutes, I said, Swami, bahut ho gaya, bas. Swami said, okay. He blessed me, patted my head, patted my shoulder. And when everybody was clapping, he also clapped. He said, bahut acha tha, bahut maja aaya. He put forward his feet. I took Pad Namaskar and he said, idhar hi baitho, sit next to me. The students wouldn't give me a place to sit. In spite of Swami telling them, shift, give him a place to sit. But they are all clinging to Swami and his jula. Then Swami finally said, ठीक है, आप पीछे अपनी जगह में जाकर बैठ जाओ. And I went and sat down at my place, sweating. Swami was very appreciative. He threw a rose at me as a mark of appreciation of it. Now, at this stage, I would like to mention a few conversations that I had with Swami. Then Swami spoke. He spoke his discourse for another about 30 minutes. After that, after concluding his discourse, Swami again complimented me on my talk. Just to humor the august gathering, he asked the question at random. He asked everybody, whose talk was better? Referring to his talk or my talk? General ka talk or mera talk, which is better? Now, how can somebody say general's talk was better? How can somebody say military talk was better? The warden obviously spoke. All children were quiet. The warden obviously spoke on behalf of the students. General's talk was good. You see, he is also a clever man, Nasimha Murthy. He said the general's talk was good, but yours was perfect. Telling Swami, the general's talk was good, but yours was perfect, his discourse, obviously. Swami raised the query, what is better, good or perfect? He said, mine was good, Swami was perfect. Swami says, what is better, good or perfect? Now there were some murmurs that perfect was better. Swami's children obviously said Swami is better. So since he said perfect, yours was perfect, children said perfect. Swami explained, take out, mine was good. So Swami says, take out one O from his good. What do you get? G-O-O-D, take out O, one O from it, what do you get? Somebody said God. Swami smiled. He still left the whole thing as a question mark. Is it good or perfect? For good, he said, you remove O, that becomes God. So God, perfect, his, mine, and he left it at that. Who was better? Obviously he was better. Where's the doubt? But it's on a lighter mood. Swami was always in a lighter mood whenever we used to talk. And here was one more. Now, the miracle doesn't finish here. Thereafter, when we came out, my mother and my I think only my mother and my wife. They were sitting outside in an empty Sai Ramesh hall waiting for me. And inside we had already spent about an hour plus for our Sai sessions, 3 sessions. My mother and my wife are very anxious to know what all happened. She said, "Kya hua? Batao, what happened inside?" And I told them that I spoke for 32 minutes and my mother let me have it. She admonished me. She said, "You are stupid. People come all the way from all over the world to listen to Swami, and you are telling me in your story that you spoke for 32 minutes. Who's interested in your 32 minutes of talk?" I said, "But Swami enjoyed it." He clapped. Everybody else clapped. He says, "वो तो दिखाने का बात है. People had come only to listen to Swami's discourse and not yours." I felt very sheepish. I was admonished in front of my wife. I was admonished in front of a few sevadars also who was there. Finally, we got into the car. It was getting late. I came home, and next day morning, we were again there. That happened to be a weekend. So I was not going to office. We again went, sat our respective places. Baba came. He stood next to my mother and he said, "Kaisa hai?" She said, "Fine." He asked my wife, "Kaisa hai?" They said, "Fine." They said, "Kal aap beta ko danta." Now, at this stage, let me authenticate my talk by giving you exactly what transpired with my mother, because I have it recorded here after my research and reference to my diaries. He came forward next to my mother and said, "Mataji, क्यों माताजी कल शाम को त्रेई के बाद आप बेटे को बहुत डांटा? क्यों डांटा? बहुत गुस्सा हुआ? क्यों गुस्सा हुआ?" In other words, just for the English translation, "Mataji, what Mataji? Yesterday evening after 3 sessions, why did you have to admonish your son for speaking so long?" My mother was dumbfounded. She was dumbfounded. How did Swami get to know this incident? She explained to him, "Swami, पूरा दुनिया आपका आवाज़ सुनना चाहता है, मेरा बेटे को नहीं, और वो बहुत लंबा टाइम के लिए 32 मिनट्स बेटा बोला, 32 मिनट्स के लिए बोला." Swami, the English version was, "Swami, the whole world looks forward to listening to your divine words and not my son, and that too for such a long time." Swami's omnipresence was at play. He knew what we were talking when he was relaxing a day earlier. Swami lovingly tapped my mother's head and said, "नहीं माताजी, उसको हम बोला बात करने के लिए, हमने उसको बोला कंटिन्यू करो, क्योंकि हम सब एंजॉय करता था." कंटिन्यू किया, हम बहुत एंजॉय किया. He further explained, "ऐसा बेटा को गुस्सा नहीं करो, जब वो मेरा काम करता है उसको हम ब्लेस किया, वो मेरा काम करेगा." "No, Mataji, he did not speak on his own. I asked him to speak. After some time, I again asked him to continue speaking because all were enjoying his talk. Please do not admonish your son, especially when he is working for me. I bless him for his talk." Now here, I would also like to link it up with one more thing. Inside, he gave me Pad Namaskar twice, before talking and after talking. I wanted to link it up with outside. When he came towards me, I gave an indication for Pad Namaskar and he said, "Wait, Pad Namaskar dega." I was wondering, kaise dega? Swami's gone inside. Inside I got 2 Pad Namaskars instead of 1. Divinity continues to be at play in the lighter moments as well as in the serious moments. I spoke about resurrections twice. I spoke about his omnipresence. I spoke about his love for music. I have taken more than an hour and 45 minutes already, but I must end it up with one conversation, because it again applies to all of us. We were sitting inside at an interview time. We were speaking about mandirs. There was somebody who took out a photograph of some other god. I don't remember. After all, when you are in the interview room, everybody minds his own business. So Swami had come to know that that was an image of God. That on what pretext I don't remember at this moment. But the point was that after they left, we were still sitting inside. Swami spoke to me about, Swami spoke to us, and I think my daughter Pooja was also there. My son was studying at Parthi, about meditation and mandirs, about placement of God. Now we talked of meditation, and Swami said, "Why do you meditate?" So I said, basically to absorb you in me. Whether you look at a light, a flame, an image of Baba in a mandir, and then you want to absorb him. He said, "But I'm already inside you." I've told so many times that God is in you, not around you. He is inside you. So if God is already inside me, then why are you meditating to get me inside? Now here was a serious food for thought for the millennium. Should we meditate to get God inside when God is already inside? It's a food for thought. Everybody has to think on it. When you meditate, what is the purpose? If you are meditating to improve your ability to concentrate and to ability to focus on what you are doing, meditation is good. If you feel God is outside and that energy is going into you, if that is what you feel, then it is okay. But God says, I am already in you. Now, I must share with you, I mean, everybody has something to share. When I sleep every day at night, I try to meditate and immediately realize that God is in me. So, what I meditate is that God is in me, He is inside my heart, in my thorax region, and there is a lot of halo around Him. There's a lot of orange light and silver light around me. It is spreading from my brain to my neck, to my thorax, to my abdomen, to my hips, to my legs, and He's in me. And then, after about 5 minutes or 7 minutes, I open my eyes and my meditation finishes. This is one aspect. But I do not want you to leave your meditation practices and get onto this unless you are convinced on this meditation. Every meditation, the aim is to get God inside you. Whichever way. This is food for thought. The other issue which he spoke about in terms of God outside is in mandirs. There was some place, the background to the text I don't remember at this moment, but he said that when you go into your mandir, you got so many pictures, Babas, Shirdi Babas, Ramas, Lord Rama, Krishna, Vishnu, Shiva, also Brahma, so many pictures there, 100 pictures in your this thing. And I said, yes. He says, so when you close your eyes, what happens? I understood what he's saying. I said, yes, Swami, we can't focus on any one picture. Something or the other keeps disturbing us. He said, ye to fir cluttering ho gaya. This is called a cluttering of a mandir. He is very right. My mother said, yes, Swami, it is a cluttering of an image. The point that he was trying to bring home, and I am trying to bring home to you all at this moment, is what transpired between Swami and myself in terms of cluttering our mandirs. Should we have 100 pictures of everything inside a mandir, and when we sit at night and say good night to Baba, you can't think of Baba, there are so many images. Sometimes you think of Rama, sometimes you think of Krishna, sometimes you talk of Shiva, sometimes you talk of Shirdi, sometimes you talk of... There's a total clutter in your mind, and you come out with nothing gained. On the contrary, if you have just one image of Baba the way you want him, or one image of your divinity, whatever be his name, just have that in front of you and pray, you will get it right. I told Swami, sir, you are right. You are absolutely correct, Swami. He says, take an example of church. Church में कितना भगवान का फोटो होता है ऐसे में, there's one cross. So then he gave me an example of Quran. He gave me an example of Granth. All other religions, they have only one God in front of them, or one Guru in front of them, or one person, a deity in front of them. It is in India, in the Hindus, you have anything which anybody gives, you place it in your mandir. Everything is placed in the mandir, and then when you go to pray, there is confusion in your mind. Who is who? It's a food for thought. I leave it at that as a conversation that I had with Baba, which me, my mother, and my family had with Baba. It's up to you. A question was asked thereafter by my mother, but Swami, जब हम जाता है बिरला मंदिर इज अ वेरी बिग मंदिर इन दिल्ली. जब हम जाता है बिरला मंदिर या किसी भी मंदिर में, उधर तो बहुत होता है. एक जगह है रामा, एक जगह कृष्णा, एक जगह शिवा का है, एक जगह ये है, एक जगह माता का है. तो स्वामी गेव अ वेरी गुड एक्सप्लेनेशन. ही सेज वो पब्लिक मंदिर है. पब्लिक में कई बिलीफ, सब अपना अपना बिलीफ का आता है. एक जो सिख आएगा वो सिख का साइड में प्रे करेगा, एक जो कृष्ण का है वो कृष्ण में जाएगा, रामा का राम में जाएगा, शिवा का शिव में जाएगा, विष्णु का विष्णु में जाएगा, एटसेट्रा. ही सेड दैट इज व्हाई इन मंदिर्स दे आर क्लटर्ड. The point was well taken. That even when you go to big mandirs, their images separate. And since my mother said Birla Mandir, now these are for all of you who are from Delhi. Birla Mandir is one of the largest mandirs in Delhi. And there, images are of very many, but it's spread over a long distance. In one huge hall, there is only Ram, Lakshman, and Sita. You go to another hall, there is Hanuman. You go to a third hall, there is Shiva. You go to a fourth hall, they are all in the same hall, same mandir, but differently placed. That may be a justification for keeping number of images of gods at a one place. But that's a public mandir. And that too when public is very diverse. At home, when all of you, 2 of you or 3 of you have one deity, one divinity to pray, just have the image of that divinity and that is it. With this food for thought, a number of conversations which have been food for thought, I leave it for you to decide what is best for you. I have come out with four experiences from my life. For details, you will have to look at my book. But experiences are galore. All it requires is having implicit faith in God. God could be anywhere, divinity, implicit faith in divinity. That is why the name of my book is also Divinity at Play. I have not mentioned about Baba at play or God at play, divinity at play. Or give divinity any name that you want. But remember, keep him here. And if you kept him here, kept her here, divinity will continue to be at play. With this, I take your permission to call off. Sai Ram.
Sai Ram, I thank you, sir, for sharing the cherished memories with Bhagawan and the lessons that you had learned at his lotus feet. Swami says, God protects his devotees like the eyelids protect the eye. Your father's experience where a person comes out of nowhere and protects him from the angry crowd is a proof of this message of Bhagawan. Your experience where you met with an accident so close to a medical clinic, and even though injured, you and your mother and your whole family safely reached Prashantinilayam. This incident further strengthens our faith in this particular message of Bhagawan and Bhagawan himself. And I believe there are certain feats that only an avatar and God can perform, such as the Paloma episode. That day, Swami made you so happy by playing La Paloma. Swami made the day so very special for the granddaughter of the composer of La Paloma. And this also signifies that Swami identified the pure intentions, the good intentions of the composer of the La Paloma number. We know 2 people, but I'm sure there must have been many others in that crowd that day for whom Swami made that day so very memorable. And that, I believe, is the strength of the avatar. Thank you, Colonel Arun Malhotra, for narrating such wonderful experiences with Bhagawan. We are really grateful to you for this. And sir, we sincerely pray to Bhagawan to shower his choicest blessings on you and to keep you and your family healthy, happy, and in bliss all the time. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank the coordinating team of Samarpan and also the audio video team who have been working so hard to broadcast these episodes online each month. I also want to thank the Sri Sathya Sai organization Karnataka for their continuous support on the Samarpan sessions that we have been having. And with this, we conclude this month's Samarpan. Stay tuned to the YouTube channel of Sri Sathya Sai Organization Karnataka for the Samarpan next month and many other programs that happen in Brindavan and programs based on Bhagawan's life and messages. I also pray for the well-being of all our viewers. Thank you. Sai Ram.